3 is expensive for this effect. I mean, you personally are gonna get beaten by this card, probably, but I don't think it's that great.
What? I'm out, man.
Welcome to another Eternal video. This time we're going to go over all of the commons and the uncommons. With me today to rank all of these cards and to help me save my voice is Joma,
What's
the
up?
one and only. We're going to use an A to F ranking scale. The A to F scale is a really common way to do set reviews, so I figured I would just continue using that. That way we can have a common language to evaluate all of these cards. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe if you're enjoying the content. Let's get right into it. The first cards in the set, Mark of the Grove, and we're going to go over each of these all at once since this is a cycle of them. Keep in mind, Battle Lines is a 3-faction set. Because of that, they needed to make a way to allow you to consistently draft 3 factions. And these power cards are amazing. These have been even better than they read. Mark of the Grove will take, for example. You play it, you can pay 1, and you'll gain an influence of the 2 related factions that go with that alliance. So the Grove Alliance, for example, is Fire, Time, and Primal. So this will always guarantee you can get 2 of your 3 factions. To note, this is super important, these also help splashing if you aren't in these 3 factions. So say you're playing the Hermit's Alliance, which is Primal, Fire, and Shadow. You can still use Mark of the Grove to fix your influence for your Fire and Primal, even if you're also playing Shadow cards. Meaning, these are going to be high picks in the factions that they overlap with. These cards are amazing. I think you should pick these highly over even like a good playable. I'd say B- for this whole cycle.
Yeah, these seem really good. Like, paying 1 is just not that much of a cost at all.
You can
So,
fit this into your curve, play it on turn 3, and still play like a 2-drop. Yeah, B-. These are great.
yeah, I think
Play
that
them
makes sense.
often. Okay, Aerial Suppression is going to be the next card. 1 cost, 1 red influence, deal 2 damage to an enemy unit. Double damage while you have a unit with flying. Meaning, 1 cost, deal 4 to a unit.
That's just crazy. Yeah.
I read this off during the draft and I'm like, wait, what? And like, flying seems to be fairly common in this set as well, so it's pretty easy to enable that. But even just 1 cost, deal 2, you just can't argue
That's just
with
good,
that.
yeah.
Exactly, with that level of efficiency. And I'm probably gonna have to give this like, I think it's just
Yeah.
B-. It
I would say B
probably,
or B minus.
yeah, that was exactly where I was hovering. Especially if you're 3 factions, you're most likely not going to be that aggressive, and just having cheap removal to deal with your opponent's early threats while you set up is really important. So I'm taking that super highly. Raging Jackal is the next card. Now this is a reprint from Revelations, so something to keep in mind. 1 cost, 2/1 with Valor. Very aggressive card. I don't know, Joe. This is going to be format dependent. Like, how good are the aggressive decks
Yeah.
in the
1
3
toughness
faction format?
is rough.
Yeah, so you're only playing this in like a more assertive deck.
You really want to be aggressive with this one.
You still can play 2 faction decks in this 3 faction set, and Praxis, which is Fire Time, is one of them. So this could have a place in that specific deck if that ends up being the meta. We still don't really know if is this mostly gonna, kind of like how, if you remember, Streets of New Capenna was like actually mostly just a two color set, and you kind of just splashed the 3rd color. Is that how this set's gonna be? It's kind of hard to say. Without knowing, I'm just gonna give this a C.
Yeah, I feel like C minus.
Yeah.
Kind of depends on the format.
Yeah.
We got Temper. This is deal 1 damage for 1. Top unit or weapon to your deck gets +1/+1. Eh,
It is fast spell, which is good
that's
to
true.
know. You can get more mileage out of this card than it looks, though. There's a lot of times you just attack with multiple units. They block, you get in some damage. They blocked in a way that left one of their units with 1 health, and you get to kill it with temper, and you get like a little buff to your
Little
next
bonus.
unit.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say like D plus to start, but depending on how often you can get a kill from this, how many 1 health units there are, this could just get up to straight up C. Like you would always just want
yeah.
1 copy of this in your deck.
Yeah, I think that makes sense.
Urn of Choking Embers. When the cursed player plays a unit, exhaust it. Ugh.
Okay, that seems not good.
Just like another aggressive card. There's not that much charge that I've noticed in this format. Maybe there's an aggressive deck, like I said, a 2-faction aggressive deck that can use this. I'm thinking like this is like D.
Yeah.
Maybe like
D-
build around C.
minus. Yeah, I feel like you just don't want to waste a card on this type of effect.
Okay, Youngblood Trapper. 1 cost 1/1. Summon Hunt 1. So something to note in terms of synergy is Hunt in this set fuels Devour, which if you watched my set mechanics for Battle Lines video, which I will put in the upper right hand corner for y'all to click on. So that's something to consider. I am just not a fan of 1 cost 1/1s in draft. You really want each card in your limited deck to be impactful. That being said, this card could be a 1 cost 2/2 and fuel your opponent's Void for Devour. How bad is the downside of hitting a Sigil and you just get the advantage?
Because if it's just a 1 cost 1/1, that's not. Usually you don't want to play cards like that, even if it has a little bit of synergy.
Yeah.
It's like
It can
if
ramp
it's
you
like
a turn
1 cost
later.
2/2, yeah. There is definitely some upside, but
I'd be willing to come up on this card, but I'm thinking because of that, like C minus.
yeah, that's probably where I'm at too.
Yeah, I could be convinced otherwise. Eager Youth is the next one. 2 cost 2/1 for 1 red influence. Summon, reduce the cost of the top unit of your deck by 2. Wow, so another aggressive card. I would give this like a C in just like your average 3-faction deck, and possibly like a C plus if you're really more aggressive slanted.
So even if there's not a unit on top of your deck, it's still
It will
works.
search
So-
the top card until it hits a unit.
Okay, gotcha. Okay,
So it'll never miss.
it'll never miss. Okay, there's definitely scenarios where this could be good.
Yeah.
Like if you're just playing a ton of units in your first few turns, like this can really
Put on some pressure.
really be yeah. But it's like, I don't know, if you draw this late, it seems
Pretty
really bad.
Yeah. Which is why I think in a vacuum, C.
I almost like C minus.
Okay.
Depends on the deck. All right, we got Hive Lantern. This is a 2 cost 2/1.
Have we
with
only
Nomad.
seen 1 health units?
Yep. Everyone has been 1 health so far. Okay, so this has Nomad, so it has flying on your turn, and it gets +X on the enemy turn.
So a 2 cost 2/1 flyer on your turn, or a 2 cost 3/2 on your opponent's turn. This has been one I've been impressed with early on. One of my opponents went turn 2 Hive Lantern, turn 3 Hive Lantern, and they're just attacking for 4 in the air.
See, this one I like much better than the last 2/1.
I agree. And this is a common, whereas the other one was an uncommon.
Yeah, I think this is definitely better. It also, like, it's also gonna dodge, I guess some...
Sorcery speed, 1 damage.
Yeah, sorcery speed,
slow
1 damage.
I mean, I'm thinking C
C+.
plus.
Yeah.
This has been an impressive 2-drop. And even if you draw this late, it's going to be a 3-2 defender on the ground. Like, that is a relevant body. Calm Instructor, oh man. First instance of Recruit, which is a super strong mechanic here. So essentially, Recruit means draw a unit from the top 5 cards of your deck. If it costs less than this card's, you just get to play it for free. And then the rest of the cards go on the bottom. More often than not, this is going to be a 2-for-1. The downside is you can miss, so if you are heavy Recruit, you want to make sure your deck is more unit heavy. It's just hard to... anything with Recruit, I'm going to really struggle giving less than a C+. And this, I think I'm going to keep this at C+, just due to the fact of the double fire influence. Since it is a 3-faction set, it will be harder to get that double influence early on. And this card is significantly worse later. Even if it is still a 2-for-1, it just basically becomes a 2-1 that draws a unit from the top of your deck. Which, I mean, I'm saying that, and
which is still fine.
It's still fine.
Yeah.
This is another one where it's like C+, but I could see this in like an aggressive Praxis or maybe even like Skycrag deck as like a B or a B-. But yeah. I'm gonna put my stake at C+ here.
I would say C+, just because it is just a 2-1.
Yeah.
So like there are cases where it's not amazing, but I mean, Recruit just seems ridiculous.
Yeah.
I mean, you're always, unless you just completely miss, you're always drawing an actual card.
Enraged Drone. So an uncommon 3-cost 2/2, 1 fire influence. This has Nomad 1. Summon, you play a Fire Honey. Now, Fire Honey is a new cycle of relics that certain cards just give you for free. And they each have pay 2 and sack the relic for some minor effect. In this case, this is not very minor. It's deal 2 damage to an enemy. So you have a 3-cost 2/2 flyer on your turn, or a 3/3 on your opponent's turn, and you get to pay 2 at a later time to shock something.
Yeah, this seems pretty good. The deal 2, is that to the opposing player or units or both?
An enemy means player or unit.
Okay.
If it said to an enemy unit, would be if it specified to just a unit, or enemy player if it was just to their face.
Okay, yeah, so this just seems really good then.
I mean, B-.
I'd almost say B-, yeah.
In an evasive,
Evasive 2/2...
3/3 defender. Later, you could also look at this as a 5-cost 2/2 Nomad 1, deal 2 damage to a unit. Yeah, I mean, I think B- for Enraged Drone.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, what do we got next, Joe?
Frontier Bard. This is 3-cost 2/4. When one or more of your other units hit the enemy player, Frontier Bard gets 1+1 strength. Yes. And then it has Inspire. Units you draw get overwhelmed.
3-cost 2/4 is just pretty good stats, to be honest. 3/4, then a 4/4, then a 5/4.
Bigger, and it helps you do that by just giving them overwhelm.
Especially with all the Nomad running around.
Yeah, that's true. Like B-, C+, maybe.
I'm kind of on C+ as well.
Yeah.
It's really good stats, but Overwhelm isn't like the great, like I would rather have Flying. And on a board stall, a 2/4 is fine, but you can't always get in. This does have the upside, though, of feeling very snowball-y. Like, imagine you get the 2/1 Hive Lantern with Nomad 1 into this, and you just have that early 2-drop flyer. Attack on turn 3 once you played this, then it's a 3/4. Next turn, it's attacking as a 3/4. Like, this has some very snowball-y turns, especially if your opponent stumbles at all. Okay, Lantern's Map is the next. It's an uncommon relic that costs 3 1 fire influence. When one of your units hits the enemy player, sack it to draw 2 cards. See, these are cards I have trouble evaluating, because it's like, I just see it in my head, me playing this, and then my opponent just
Sits
has
on the board.
infinite
Yeah.
defenders and removal, and I just like used a card to do nothing. But then my opponent's curving out on me with an evasive threat, and they're just like drawing 2 off of this card. I think I would put a build around grade on this, and I would only play this in an aggressive, more assertive deck. And it's almost like win more if you're in that a position to be able to attack and not worry about your
Yeah.
opponent attacking back. Like, what if this was just Frontier Bard, for example? And
Right.
in that case, he's gaining power every time one of your units hits the enemy player.
Yeah.
Build around C.
Build around C or something. Yeah.
Yeah, not super impressed with
Otherwise,
that
you
one.
don't. Yeah.
So we got Liquid Flame. It's an uncommon, 3 cost, 1 red influence. Deal 3 to an enemy. Play a Fire Honey. Meaning you get an installment plan, deal 5 damage
Yeah.
to an enemy. So it's either 3 cost 3 damage, or 5 cost 5 damage to a unit, or 5 cost 3 damage to a unit, 2 damage to another unit. This is stupid. B level removal.
Yeah, for sure.
You're taking this. This is a strong draw into that faction. It's not even double like fire influence.
It's probably gonna be one of the better removal spells.
Pouncing Predator. 3 cost, 1 red influence. It's a 3/2. Common. Devour 2. Our first instance of Devour. So when played, you may destroy that many cards from the top of the enemy void to get the listed effect. Void-bound cards are skipped. You remove 2 of your opponent's cards from the void out of the game to deal 1 damage to anything. And we see all the 1 health units.
Yeah.
This has the
Makes
application
that
of
better.
finishing off units that, they blocked with, they have 1 health left, you finish it off with Pouncing Predator. This is a card I've been impressed with early on it. That being said, a 3 cost 3/2 is fine
okay,
stats. And Devour, your opponent's void is a limited resource. So do you really want to use Devour 2 to only deal 1 damage when you might have more impactful Devour cards elsewhere? And in that case, you're just playing a unit that's just a 3 cost 3/2 vanilla. I'm thinking C for the Pouncing Predator. I could be convinced to C+, but I would say C.
Yeah, C plus. You really want to be killing something with that 1 damage. Otherwise, it's
And
just...
then, that's like, we're talking B- level.
Yeah, like if you
You're
can kill
killing a
something,
2-drop.
That's
This is going to be another one where the more we play the format and see how many 1 health units there really are, but I actually might be willing to go up to C+ for this.
I think I would say C plus.
Yeah, I like that. C+ for Pouncing Predator. Okay, Refracted Sentinel is a 3 cost, 1 red influence, 6/4. You heard me right. This is a reprint. It has a summon effect. The enemy player plays a sigil of their choice from their deck depleted. So you get a 3 cost 6/4, but you ramp your opponent 1. This is like less impactful in Constructed when your deck's like full on being aggressive. But I almost think even in Limited, this is just ginormous for 3 power.
Yeah, I almost feel like that downside is not that
It's-
bad for
it's still
getting a
worth
6/4. Like,
Yeah, man, that's tough. Something of note is if your opponent's stuck on influence in a 3 faction set, you could just help them unlock the faction they're missing. That is
that's
like a
definite downside.
extra downside, but man, I still just think this is going to be stupid. I mean, your opponent plays this on the play, and you're just going to have a bunch of 3 2s. Even and later in the game, that downside doesn't even matter.
It doesn't matter at all, yeah. It's like,
I mean, what we're talking like B.
yeah, maybe B minus. There definitely is
It is
potential
it is a
drawback for sure.
downside.
Alright, we got Stone Shaker. This is a 3-cost 1/1 mage. And it has summon, reduce the cost of each unit in your deck by 1. So obviously on its own, this is really bad.
Yeah.
A 3-cost 1/1 is terrible. Yeah, I'm not convinced by this one.
This does synergize with recruit, because reducing the cost means your recruit spells and units can play another one for free easier.
You're like almost skipping your turn 3 to get this effect. Like,
Yeah. D. I'm really not high on it.
I would say D.
Okay, we have another reprint, War Painter. It's a common, it's a 3-cost, 1 red influence, 1/4. Inspire, so units you draw get +1 power. Ugh, so it makes everything 1 power more. This is like one of those effects that does look pretty minuscule, but it ends up playing out better than you'd think. Just because
Yeah, that effect usually is better than it looks.
Yeah. All the units with Nomad that have flying on your turn are just going to start dealing a lot more damage.
Yeah, that's true.
1/3 just is not doing anything else. This is a tough one for me to rate. I'm pretty low on it early on, but I could see this being better. I'm on like C-.
Yeah, my first instinct is that this is not good, but then like, I don't know, that +1 strength again is just something that a lot of times plays really well.
It's permanent.
C-.
Oh boy. Alluring Iguana. So we have an uncommon, 4/2, 4-cost, 1 red influence. When it dies, you recruit. And man, this card was so annoying. Like, in your head, you read this and you're like, you just trade with a 2/2. But just the fact you get the recruit, you're either drawing a strong unit or playing a 3-cost or lower for free. It's still a 2-for-1, even if you're just killing a 2-cost 2/2.
Yeah, normally death triggers aren't great, but then the fact that this basically just like replaces itself immediately in some cases is like,
Yeah. I'm like pretty high on this. Even with the lower health, I'm thinking B-.
even if they kill it or like trade it with a 2/2, like you're probably getting another unit out of it anyway. So it's just
Yeah.
like it's hard not to get a 2-for-1 from this.
Yeah.
So that's probably like a B-.
Yeah. Yeah. And if they have to use actual removal on this,
I mean, you're probably thrilled with that. Yeah. All right, this is Blade Tooth. This is a 4-cost 3/3 beast. It has Quick Draw and Devour 5. Play a +1 strength weapon on each of your units. Yeah, first of all, just really annoying to deal with in combat anyway.
Yeah,
and
3-powered quick draw unit later in the
+1
great.
strength on each of your units is crazy. Yeah, so this is much better of an effect than that previous +1 strength thing we saw. Like this is just crazy.
That being said, I mean, getting 5 cards into your opponent's deck is not trivial.
Yeah, I don't know how difficult that's gonna be.
That's like pretty late in the game.
I mean, just baseline, even if you can't get the Devour, it's still like a pretty good creature, right? Like it's still like a C+ creature without the ability. So it's got to be like a B-.
Okay.
It depends on how hard Devour is.
It's really tough to make that call. I'm going to go C+. Man, that's going to be a brutal card. Okay, Cry Havoc is the next. Uncommon, 4-cost spell, 2 fire influence, deal 5 damage to an enemy unit. If it dies this turn, the enemy player discards all units with that name from their deck, which fuels your further devour cards. Removal tends to be more scarce in Eternal than it is in games like Magic. So I'm willing to usually rank any removal pretty high. The fact that this helps fuel Devour as well, 5 damage, even though this costs 4, is gonna kill like
It just kills almost
kills
anything.
anything. I land on B minus. What do you think?
Yeah, B minus. Definitely worse than the previous
Oh yeah,
spell we
Liquid
saw,
Flame.
but yeah, for sure. But
Yeah.
still, this is a good card.
Okay, Myrmidon Rider. So a 5/2. So it costs 4, 1 red influence, 5/2. Summon, it has +3 health and reckless if you have 2 or more units. Oh my god, this card reads so bad, and every time my opponent played this against me in the draft, it was really good. A 4-cost 5/5, even if it has to attack each turn, is just really oppressive. When they go 2-drop, 3-drop into this, you're just like, oh my god. I need to waste removal on this stupid thing. That being said, the downside of a 4-cost 5/2 is just like abysmal.
You definitely have to have a lot of units in your deck, which you probably are in this color.
Which
but-
you probably want to given Recruit, right? You already want to
Yep.
bias towards having
Yep.
more units. I mean, you do play this later in the game, and having a 5/5 that has to attack is pretty bad.
really swinging card, yeah.
I'm probably just going to cop out and give it a C.
Yeah.
It's going to have
this
D
really-
level, D minus level games, and like B level games.
Yeah. When it's good, it's gonna be really good, and when it's bad, it's gonna be like awful.
And both of us hate cards like that. So
yeah.
take this card evaluation with a grain of salt, right? So C for Myrmidon Rider. Tandem Strike. One of your units hunts 2, and it has Recruit. So it's just gonna replace itself with another unit or get a 3-cost or lower unit into play for free. Keeping in mind, this fuels Devour as well. This card's played out amazing. It is 4-cost, but in a way it does affect the board. Like, you are usually giving your unit +1/+1 or +2/2.
And potentially getting another unit on top of that.
Potentially getting another unit directly into play, or you're ensuring, let's say you get an advantage from this and you get like a 5-drop. Even if you have no more sigils, you can use the advantage to
helps you
ramp
play it,
into the
yeah.
thing you get. So it feeds itself. I think this card just like, it synergizes with Renown. It synergizes with Devour. It synergizes... I mean, Recruit doesn't even need to really synergize. It's just good.
Just good on its own, yeah.
This is like C+ level. Maybe even better.
It could be better than that, yeah. I would probably go C+ for now, but
You seem like you want to get into the B range.
I was almost leaning towards B-.
I would not be surprised if this ends up being B-.
Wandering Forge. This is a 4-cost 4/2 Sentinel, and it has +1/+1 and Overwhelm while you have a relic. Okay.
Something to keep in mind, the honey relics that have been getting played by miscellaneous cards here and there, those are relics. So there will be more incidental relics that get played in this format. And then you are looking at a 4-cost 5/3 with Overwhelm. But I would rather have almost any of the high power... Like, imagine I would rather just have the Iguana over this card.
Definitely. Yeah.
I'd probably rather just have the Myrmidon Rider over this card as well.
Mm-hmm.
I'm on like C-.
This looks like a D to me.
Yeah.
Just like, man,
Yeah.
if you don't have a relic, then it's just
Okay,
really bad.
Yeah, you've
And
convinced
even if
me.
you have
D,
one, it's like it's not amazing.
D plus, D plus.
Yeah, I think-
you'll
yeah.
bring me down to. Okay, the next card, Fire Guide, is a 4/4, 5 cost, 1 fire influence. Summon, you play a Fire Honey. And if you remember, that's the pay 2, sack it to deal 2 damage. I think this is like a C+. Like, you probably aren't cutting this from any red deck unless you just have too many 5, like, higher cost units.
I think C plus is my first instinct.
What's
I
your
think the Fire
next?
Honey's still no, I think it's Fire Honey's still good regardless. Like even in the late game, I think it's still good.
Yeah.
Even just to threaten being able to deal 2. Yeah, I think C plus sounds right.
I think this is just gonna do exactly what you want it, and every time. And that's kind of what I think of like a C plus. You wouldn't really cut it from your deck unless there's like curve considerations. Rampaging Rabbit. So a 5 cost, 2 fire influence, 5/4, overwhelm, devour 4, kill all enemy attachments. So that includes relic weapons, that includes any honeys they still have, any weapons buffing their units, or it's just a 5 cost 5/4 with overwhelm. This is great. I mean,
Yeah, seems pretty good. Yeah.
this is another one like I can't imagine cutting this from any red deck. I would prefer this over the previous 5 drop, which kind of leads
would
me to
also,
like a B
yeah.
minus.
Yeah, I still would say C plus, but I think this is good. It's definitely better than the last one.
C plus B minus for Rampaging Rabbit. Okay, next 5 drop, we have a common here, Smoke Shaper. 5 cost, 2 fire influence, 2/2. So you might be saying very understated, but summon, it has recruit. So you're just getting a 2/2 and possibly a 4 drop, 3 drop, or 2/2 for free, or just drawing a 6 or 7 drop unit from your hand, which you know that unit's going to be good if that's what you're picking.
Yeah. It's funny that the fact that it costs, the more it costs, like the better the recruit is.
Exactly,
Kind of,
right?
Yeah.
It's kind of like Cascade, really, in a way.
Yeah, at least B minus.
Yeah, this is definitely B range. This is gonna draw me into fire. Does this get to straight B? I mean, I just see this card overperforming every time. Okay, let's be fair. The floor is you miss.
Definitely possible.
Once again, if you have a lot of recruit, you're building your deck to that. Yeah, I think just B minus. I would not be surprised if this is just a straight B, though.
And you could easily just get like something insane, like one of the 4 drops that we've seen so far.
That are like, imagine
crazy.
this into the iguana that entombs to recruit. Like, you're just bearing your opponent in card advantage. I could be convinced of B. So B minus for Smoke Shaper. Really, really strong card. Last fire card.
This is Territorial Flame Tongue. This is a 6 cost, 6/3 beast. It has Devour 6, deals 6 damage to an enemy unit.
Mr. Ripoff Flame Tongue Kavu.
Yeah. So definitely worse than Flame Tongue Kavu. This is expensive. Expensive to play it, and the Devour is expensive too.
Yeah.
You are almost certainly killing something.
This is a tough one, and if you don't activate it, you're getting a 6/3, which is like trading with a 3 drop.
The fact that it's so expensive is kind of holding me back.
Yeah.
For this one.
I'm thinking like
a less
C
even.
minus.
Yeah, C minus. Yeah. The more I think about it, the less I like this.
And the next faction we'll cover is Time, and the first card is Borderlands Lookout, which is a reprint. It's a 1 cost, 1 time influence 03. But it gets +1 power for each type of influence that enemy has. So very often in this set, your opponent's going to be 3 factions. So it's going to be a 1/3. Or, excuse me, it's going to be a 1 cost 3/3.
Which is really good.
And even early on, like a 1 cost 1/3 still blocks well.
Yeah,
so
it's baseline, it's a 1/3 for 1, which is still fine. And it's going to be a 3/3 a lot of the time.
Yeah.
Like, B plus, B minus,
Yeah,
maybe C plus.
maybe even like a B minus. That's just so efficient.
Yeah.
I'm actually gonna go B minus. I think once again, imagine an aggressive deck. Keeping in mind the 2 drops we looked at, like yeah, let's go B minus
Yeah,
on
B minus
Borderlands.
sounds good.
Look out. Excavate. What the hell? So another reprint. So it's 1 cost, 1 time influence fast spell. Put a card from your void on the top of your deck. You gain 2 health. So you can get something back from your void, and you get to draw the best thing from your void the next turn.
I don't really like this.
I tend not to like cards like this. The fact that it's a fast spell, so you can use it at your opponent's end phase and immediately draw into whatever it is, though, that's pretty good.
That is good.
And 1 is pretty cheap to like fit into the curve. And this is just any card. You can get back a removal spell. I actually think this can put in
True.
some
Yeah.
good work. I'm thinking C, and I wouldn't be surprised if this could play as a C plus.
Yeah, I think C actually sounds right. I'm a little bit higher on it now that we talked about it. Yeah.
I talked you up.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, I think
Okay.
C.
C for excavate. Lost Hive Tender is the next card. Ooh, interesting. So it's a 1 cost 1/1, but it requires 2 time influence, and it has Nomad 2. So it's a 1/1 flyer on your turn, and then a 3/3 defender on your opponent's turn.
Uh,
I'm actually not really impressed by that. Like, having the double time influence means you probably aren't getting this out the first 2 turns. And that's the whole idea of it being like outclassing your opponent's units with Nomad 2.
yeah.
And then if you play this on turn 3, then it's just a 3/3 for
Yeah.
3.
Yeah, 1/1 flyer is also just not. It's not really putting them under pressure.
Yeah, maybe there's some other synergy we're missing here, but like on the surface, this reads as like a C minus to me.
Yeah, C minus.
Yeah, C minus we'll go with D plus C minus. Scorpion. Well, this one's pretty easy. Did you want to read it?
Yep. Scorpion. This is a 1 cost 1/1 with deadly.
I love these cards.
These tend to be like C plus level
Yeah,
cards. Really annoying as blockers.
I think a consideration probably worse in a set with Nomad. So there's going to be a lot of flying attackers.
Yeah, you can get around this, but it can also be. There's definitely spots where this is just really annoying.
Yeah. I think C.
I think these tend to play out like C.
Yeah,
these
I would
type
give
of
it a
cards.
C, especially like I said, given that downside. In a normal format, maybe like a C plus. Young Protester is the next card. It's a common 1 cost 1 time influence 1/1 bolster. So the first instant of bolster. So once per turn, you get the effect when you gain health or armor. And in this case, it gets +1/+1. You need to get this up to like a 3/3 to be like happy. Because if you just do it once, you had to work to get a 2/2,
Which is not.
which
where
is
you wanna
not where
be.
you want to be. And yeah, so you need 2 instances of bolster to make this for you to be happy
Okay.
about it.
And that's not necessarily just going to be like 2 more turns. You're not going to be gaining health every turn.
Yeah, otherwise you aren't like adding to the board.
Yeah.
So this looks like a
It's
D
like
to
a D.
me.
Yeah, I don't like this.
D for Young Protester. Calming Melody. So we got a fast spell, 2 cost 1 time influence. Your units get +1/+1 this turn. Each Enemy unit can't fly this turn. Wow, so this lets all of your Nomad units get in unblocked and buffs your whole team. That's pretty good. And there could be situations where your opponent, you attack with 2 units, they block with 2 units, and this saves both of them. And there's other situations where it's just going to be +1/+1 you're not happy with. I'd probably just do a cop-out C on this.
Yeah, I think C or C+.
Okay, Hideout Agent. It's a 2-cost, 1-time influence, 2/1, with Ambush, Entomb, gain 2. So you see our first instance of a card that can trigger Bolster, and the Ambush does help you trigger it without your opponent getting the option of not killing it, which is really good. That being said, I mean, 2-cost, 2/1's like pretty mediocre. I think I would rather, when I'm looking at Bolster, I want my deck to have cheap, which this is pretty cheap, but also repeatable ways of triggering it.
Yep, you only do this once.
So this is probably just a C.
It's the C-, yeah.
Replaceable 2-drop unit.
Yep.
Okay, Joe, what about Honey Balm?
Alright, Honey Bomb, this is a 2-cost fast spell. One of your units can't die this turn. You gain health equal to its health. If you're using it to save a creature from removal, these can be okay.
That's pretty good.
They can sometimes play out pretty well.
Their 3/3 attacks, you block with your 3/3, you use this. It kills their unit, and you gain health to trigger
and you
Bolster.
Gain health. Yeah, I think this could be like a C+.
Yeah, I'm kind of leaning toward C+ here. I feel like outside of the Bolster synergies, though, this does get worse.
Yes.
So you need to be playing this in a deck that intends to bolster. So yeah, I'm on C+, but only if you're looking to bolster. Okay, next is Living Example. Oh boy. So this is a reprint, 2-cost, 2-time influence for a 2/2. Units you draw get +1/+1.
Okay.
This card just always overperforms, especially in draft.
Everything you play just is going to be better than what they're playing. Yeah. This is like a perfect aggressive card.
Even if you're not aggressive.
Even if you're not aggressive, it's still just good.
I almost think like B.
I think a B, yeah. Anytime you're curving out with this on 2, it's just going to be stupid.
Like this is like kill on sight. You do have the downside, it is double time influence.
Yeah.
And if you draw this late, it's not very impactful.
Not gonna do anything. Yeah.
I could see those as being arguments for B-. But I mean B-, this card is great.
Definitely good.
Youngblood Novice. So another 2-cost, 1-time influence 2/2. Summon +1/+1 and Overwhelm if you played another unit this turn. So if you can double spell with units, it's a 3/3 with trample.
Okay.
God, talk about a snowball. If you recruit this in, that counts. This is like a C+.
Yeah, I think at least a C+.
Okay, Omnivorous Vorlunk. 3-cost, 2-time influence, 3/1. Killer Overwhelm. I mean, this is removal. Quote unquote, deal 3 damage. 3-cost, deal 3 damage to an enemy unit. That being said, double time influence is not great. Removal's kind of hard to come by in time usually, so this is probably like necessary evil. Probably, this hurts me to say, this would probably like C-. Oh wait, did I say C-?
You said C-, yeah.
I meant C+. Just because I think this is like necessary removal.
Yeah.
Like a necessary evil. Like
C+, yeah. It seems.
Time has pretty weak removal in general. Killer is usually the way they do it.
Okay, yeah.
But the double time is rough. But you can't just think of this as 3 damage to a unit, so C+.
C plus seems fine.
Seems
Yeah.
fine. Okay, we get our first weapon. 3 cost, 1 time influence, +0/+0. But it gives your unit Nomad 2. I really don't like this. I mean, it gives your unit evasion on your turn, which is good. But it doesn't give any stat boosts.
Yeah.
Which means this is only good in the case of you're already ahead and you're
You
trying
already
to
have
make
something
your
good. Yeah.
you're trying to make your thing evasive.
Yeah.
And I guess the argument's, well, if you're behind, it gives your thing +2/+2. But then that's like a pretty mediocre buff for 3.
It's expensive, yeah.
That's pretty
3 costs for
expensive.
this is kind of expensive.
This is like a C-.
C minus, yeah.
For Pilgrim's Pack. I could even be convinced in a D+, to be honest.
Yeah.
I'm not a fan of cards
Not
like
impressive.
this. Okay, what's the next card, Joe?
Alright, we got Pipes of Promise. This is a 3 cost relic.
Oh,
When you
jeez.
play your second unit in a turn, it gets +2/+2.
Keep in mind that factors in recruit.
So it's good with recruit, it's good with cheap units.
I think we have to
Feels
give
like-
this a build around grade.
Yeah.
You wouldn't
I
put
think
this in
so.
every time deck. You need to have minimum like 8 recruit cards for me to feel comfortable playing this. Maybe that's going like too conservative. Maybe like 6 is at a point where this would be good.
Yeah. Because, like, you have to play this first before you start
Yeah,
playing your units, too, which is kind of...
it doesn't affect the board.
Playing this on turn 3 doesn't seem good at all.
I'm gonna say build around C plus is
C+.
my
Yeah, build around
final,
C+.
but I wouldn't be surprised in a heavy recruit deck if this is like build around B minus. That's a interesting one. Okay, now we're getting into some good overlap cards. So Writ of Renewal is a spell, 3 cost, 1 time influence, recruit, gain 3 life. I mean, I can't see cutting this from any time deck. And if you're in a bolster deck, this gets even better. Because of this being like a glue card, I'm thinking C+.
I think C+ is right.
Draw a unit from the top 5, gain 3, triggering bolster, or just playing a 2-drop from the top. Yeah, that's pretty good. Seasoned Spelunker. So a 3 cost 3/3, 1 time influence. This is a reprint. So it gets +2/+2 while you have a relic. Keep in mind there are the cycle of honeys. And then this is a 5/5. And it has an ultimate, meaning you can pay 5 1 time to play a Power Stone, which gives you +1 maximum power. So it ramps you. But more importantly, it gives you a relic to give it the +2/+2 buff.
Yeah.
I mean, this is great.
This is already good. Even just 3 cost 3/3, already good. Just
And then
good
it's going to
stats.
be a 5/5 later in the game.
Yeah. I
B
like this
minus?
one. B minus, I think.
Yeah, I really like the Spelunker. Okay, Steel Warren Tunneler. It's an uncommon, 3 cost, 1 time influence, 2/3. It has Spellcraft 2, play teleport. So when you play this spell, you can pay an additional 2 to play the spell teleport, which bounces a unit back to the enemy hand. Jesus, talk about tempo. So it's either a 3 cost 2/3 or a 5 cost 2/3 that bounces a unit. Now, Joe, keep in mind, if you add 6 power and you played a 4 cost something with recruit and played this for free off of it, you can still pay the additional 2 to get that effect.
Oh, okay. You can also use it on your own stuff, right?
Oh yeah, put a
bounce around
unit.
stuff. Yeah. So if
Man,
you want to like re-trigger recruit on something,
oh my god. Yeah, I didn't even think about that.
yeah, I think this is gonna be pretty good.
Yeah, I mean,
It's a little expensive to pay 5, but I still think this is a really good
pretty
effect.
good.
Pretty
Yeah, I
versatile.
think there's going to be enough scenarios where you use this to your advantage that this is probably like a B minus, C
I
plus.
would say B minus.
Yeah. 3 health helps, like it does block 2 drops. So yeah, B minus. I think there's just enough upside there to to bring it up to that range. Okay, did you want to get the next one?
All right, we got tethered bee.
That
This
is
is
a
a
terrifying looking bee.
this is a 3-cost 1/2 insect. It has Nomad and Summon play a restorative honey, which is a relic that is pay 2 and sacrifice it to gain 3 health.
So the Nomad one isn't really helping you on your turn. It just makes a 1/2 flyer. But it's a 2/3 on your opponent's turn as a defensive thing. It gives you a relic for relic synergies and bolster for any
Bolster
bolster
synergy.
effects.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is it it doesn't do anything well, but it's fine in everything, like C minus.
Yeah, it might have enough synergies to be okay. Um, yeah, C minus,
I
maybe
could see just I
maybe a
could see
C.
this being in your pile and you not playing this over other
Yeah.
middling threes.
Yep.
C minus for tethered B. Turn the tides. Double a unit's power and health this turn. 3 cost 1 time influence fast spell. So I mean you put this on an unblocked 5/5 domum for 10 and it is just a combat trick that will give plus X, where X is your unit's power and health.
3 is expensive for this effect. I would say like C minus. Like, I mean, you personally are gonna get beaten by this card probably, but I don't think it's that great.
Yes. Oh, you definitely know it. Yeah, I agree with C minus. I think this is too expensive, and the time aggressive decks you're going to play this with are going to be commonly paired with fire, and there's a lot of smaller units. If you use this on a 2/1, it's not
Yeah,
doing
that's
anything.
not worth it. Yeah.
Be back Scout. So you get an uncommon, 4 cost, 2 time influence 2/3 with Nomad 2, ambush while you have a relic. That's really good. A 2/3 flying attacker attacks well because the 3 health and 2 damage is actually like a relevant amount of damage. Ambush, if you happen to have any of the honeys or just other relics, lets you potentially eat something. Because
It's
keep
a
in
4/5.
mind,
Yeah.
4/5.
Yeah.
I mean, this seems great. I can't even come up with like a bad case scenario. B minus for B back Scout.
I like B minus.
Okay, Druid of the Sands. 4 cost, 1 time influence, 1/1. +1 maximum power, summon recruit. So now you're really putting me to the test of how much I value recruit. Because by the time you're at 4 power, ramping is like.
Not as good.
But recruit is just like always good, and getting a 3 and a 2 drop for free is. It's like, man, it's really hard for me to read something with recruit and not like it.
Probably
But
one of
this,
the weaker recruit cards, but still.
you probably you probably don't cut this from any time deck. It's just a
This is
1/1
more
just.
towards a C plus.
Yeah, I think I agree. C plus for Druid of the Sands. Last reserves. So we got a relic, 4 cost, 1 time influence. When you attack with 2 or more units, you gain 3 health. So we have a repeatable way of triggering bolster, but it's in the form, it's pretty expensive, and it's situational because you won't always have 2 clean attacks with units
Yeah,
to trigger your
exactly.
bolster.
It's not just having 2 units. Yeah, I don't really like this.
The joke is this is in time, which has a lot of nomad. So remember that 1/1 flyer that we were like, yeah, that's not really relevant? This does make that good. Going into the draft format, there is still a pack of Behemoth Cetera, which has a 3-cost weapon that makes it so whenever your unit it's equipped to attacks, you gain 4 life. I think that's just you would rather have that common to have this type of effect than last reserves. So I'm thinking like a build around C minus.
Yeah.
Probably
Yeah.
less. Probably like build
Maybe a
around
D.
D
This might even
plus.
be a D level card. Just too expensive.
Yeah,
Too
I
situational.
don't like it. Okay, I want you to do the next one because I read this during my draft and I'm like very undecided about this.
Alright, this is Sandspout Mirage. This is a 4-cost 0/5 with ambush, and it has summon ready your other units. You're trying to get them to make a big attack, and then you play this and untap everything.
And then have a bunch of advantageous blocks they weren't planning for.
I can definitely see situations where this is like a big blowout.
Nomad is in this format, which incentivizes you to want to attack on your turn with your evasive
That's true.
flyer.
Maybe this is better than it looks.
Yeah, the more I've been thinking about it, I was like, man, I think this is decent.
Yeah, it seems situational, but honestly, the more I think about it, it does seem like this might be better than it looks.
At worst case, it's holding back 4 power and lower things, but with the upside of crazy blowouts.
It's a hard one.
I'm gonna be a little ballsy, and I'm gonna give it a C plus. I would also not be surprised if this is just a D and just too finicky
Yeah.
to not work. But I'm gonna put my stake down at C plus.
Right. We have Strike It Rich. This is a 4-cost fast spell. Your units get +2/+1 this turn. If you have 3 or more, gain 3 health. Yeah, this is...
How are you gonna spend 4 power? You aren't gonna have any power left for like a combat trick. And sure, you gain 3, but the main reason you would have wanted to use this was the big buff on your team.
Yeah, this is the type of thing you want to just use it for like one big attack to win the game, and it doesn't give overwhelm or anything.
Yeah.
So it's like, yeah,
D.
these are D level cards.
Not a fan. Oh man. Okay, Emperor Cobra. So it's a 5-cost 4/4 one-time influence. It's an uncommon. Summon, you put an enemy unit with flying or an enemy relic on the bottom of their deck. So for all intents and purposes, kills it.
This
B,
is really good.
just
I think this would be
straight up B.
basically removal and a good creature or a good unit on top of that.
It's like, oh, I'll let you do the squirrel.
All right, we got Greedy Hoarder. This is a 6-cost 6/6 squirrel, and it has Bolster, draw a card.
Bam! The 3 magic words that make any synergistic mechanic run, right?
Yeah, this is the best payoff for Bolster that we've seen.
Correct.
For sure. It's a big unit, and yeah, I mean, if you're drawing
One card off of
one
this.
card off this, I think you're thrilled with that.
Is this another B?
I would lean towards B for this.
Okay, Joe, let's compare. So, Steelbite Myrmidon. So it's a 7-cost 2-time influence, 8/6. So it costs 1 more for +2 power. Its bolster effect, it gives it overwhelm. That's a huge downgrade. And it makes sense, right? The other thing was the uncommon, this is the common. D plus.
Yeah, just too expensive, and you have to do work to make it,
Even
it's
fine.
overwhelmed anyway. Yeah, E
Actually,
plus,
yeah, the more
D,
I'm
D
even
plus.
talking about it, I'm thinking like D.
You don't really want cards like this.
No, no. D for Steel Bite Myrmidon. Okay, moving on to Justice, we have Drifting Drone. This is a reprint, 1 cost, 1 Justice, 0/2. Flying and lifesteal, +1 power for each relic in your void. Keep in mind those honeys, when you pay 2 and sack them, go to your void. You probably want this to be a 2/2. I would have this at a C. And the number of relics, that's with the assumption. So, first, it's an F if you have no way of making relics.
Yeah, you
But
can't
if
play
you
this at
have
0.
like 3 ways of creating honeys, I would put one of these in the deck. There's a lot of 1 health units, so even if you just have one, it can trade early on. And later in the game, if you draw it and it's a 2/2 flyer, then you're happy. So,
Yeah, I think
finicky. C.
Alright, we got No One Left Behind. This is a 1 cost fast spell. Give 2 of your units +1/+1 this turn. These type of combat tricks can be good, but can also be very underwhelming.
It does trigger
It's
Renown.
cheap. It does, yeah. It is cheap, so this is like an okay combat trick. This is like a C minus, I would
I
say.
agree. I would say C minus, but keep in mind while you're drafting, if you end up in a Renown heavy deck and you just want cheap ways of targeting your guys,
Yep.
this is good. Splatter Tactics is the next card. So 1 cost, 1 Justice Influence. Stun an enemy unit. This is a fast spell, by the way. Stun an enemy unit, play a Sticky Honey. So right there we see another way of creating a relic. God, in a tempo, more assertive deck, that just seems really brutal. You get 2 attacks before that thing readies, and you get the Sticky Honey to stun something else.
Something else.
That seems like a C plus level spell. It's
Yeah,
not
given how
removal.
cheap this is, yeah.
It's not removal, but I think you can make this do a lot of work in many points of the game.
Yeah, I think C plus is good.
Okay, Mistral Messenger. 2 cost, 2/2. This is an uncommon. 1 Justice Influence. Endurance Nomad 1. Meaning, it attacks on your turn as a 2/2 flyer, and since it has endurance, it readies and then blocks as a 3/3.
Seems great.
B minus just on the sake of efficiency.
Yeah. I mean, there's no drawback here. Like, you're just getting both parts of Nomad. Yeah, I do B minus.
And I'm like almost convinced into B, but if you draw this later in the game, I mean it's still a 2/2
It's still a 2/2
attacking
flyer,
flyer,
so it's like,
and a 3/3
yeah,
on the ground. Let's do it. Let's go B on Mistral
Yeah.
Messenger. I think the card's just so efficient. It's like an efficiency B. Okay, I got a complicated one. Siege Provision. So 2 cost, 1 Justice Influence relic. Once per turn, you may pay 3 to give one of your units +2/+2 and endurance this turn. It also does have Spellcraft 1 to play Endure, which gives one of your units invulnerable to damage this turn. Keeping in mind that triggers Renown. In board stalls, giving this to a unit with Nomad is just stupid.
really good with Nomad.
I mean, 2 cost is not that expensive. I almost wonder if this is good enough.
I think this is definitely, it's a little slow, but like you said, if it's a board stall, like, this is gonna be
You
really
put this
good.
on a flyer and that's like game over. I think this is a C.
Yeah, I think
And just
so.
look for your deck to be more, to have more Nomad units. And it does work with Renown units. So I think that card is better than it seems.
This can be, yeah, better than it looks.
Stalwart Guardian. Bolster. Stalwart Guardian is invulnerable to damage this turn. Ugh. We see this issue a lot where 2 different mechanics are pointing you in 2 different directions. If I want to repeatedly gain life and armor, I don't also want to be attacking.
Yeah.
And the fact that this doesn't block is kind of mediocre. Like, the joke is you're gaining health and attacking with this so you can win a race. I just don't like a two cost that's this fragile.
Yeah, I feel like this could be awkward in a lot of situations.
And I feel like the bolster is not going to come up much.
Yeah.
D plus.
I think it's D plus.
Yeah, D plus for
Maybe
Stalwart
one.
Guardian. Benevolent be tender. So 3 cost 3/2, 1 justice influence. Summon, play a sticky honey. I mean, this is just a C. It's giving you some advantage in terms of the relic that can stun something, but it's mediocre, like average stats.
Yeah, an okay unit with some upside.
Some
I think that's
upside.
a
It's
C.
just a C. Next. Let's do more card evaluations like that, Joe.
Yeah.
Did you want to do this one? This one's
Alright,
sweet.
so this is Charming Steel Guard. It's a 3 cost 3/2 soldier, and it has bolster, play a 1/2 soldier with Aegis.
This is the synergy uncommon you need for your bolster deck to function, like in
Yep.
draft. And I think because of that, like B.
Yeah, I think B seems
Like, I
good.
feel like all draft sets have that linchpin synergy card that it's like, this is the real bolster effect you want, not getting overwhelmed for a turn. This is giving you a 1/2 unit on the board. So, yeah, I like B for Charming Steel Guard. You just gotta make sense you're building your deck around bolster. Okay, Diligent Smith. An uncommon, 3 cost, 1 justice influence, 2/3. When you play a weapon, it hunts 1. So, this is mainly for the Renown deck,
Yeah.
because you'll be playing weapons to trigger Renown. It grows the weapons you play. I feel like this doesn't have, like, a great home. I would almost rather have a different buff on the weapon, like +2 armor, or always +1/+1 words.
Yeah. Yep.
But it is just a 3 cost 2/3, so a C minus.
Yeah, this is like a C minus. It's okay.
And if you have a lot of weapons, it could perform better, like a C plus. Elf Eel Fang Harpoon.
Harpoon? Yeah.
3 cost, 1 justice influence relic weapon. So 1 power, 3 armor. It has versatile. So you can play it on your unit or you as a relic weapon. When the wielder is blocked by an enemy unit, silence it. So you remove all abilities from the unit that's blocking. And keep in mind, that's also if you attack it with the harpoon or it's blocking your unit. I mean, this seems great.
Yeah, that's a really good effect.
There's a lot of 1 health units. I think the silence effect is mostly for if you slap it on one of your units rather than have it be equipped to you. It's tough, though. A 1/3 doesn't really kill anything, but +1/+3 on a unit is going to be pretty obnoxious.
Yeah.
B minus. I think this has enough versatility, no pun intended. Okay, Joe, what's the next one?
Alright, we got Fang Defenses. This is a 3 cost fast spell. Ready one of your units and give it endurance this turn. Each enemy unit gets -2 strength this turn.
So the idea is you ready one of your, like, nomad guys. Your opponent attacked with a bunch of stuff. You ready one of your... You get a surprise blocker in there. It shrinks their power, and then you can block and, like, eat their whole board of attackers. I guess it also has some effect of... You can't just use this on your turn, give something endurance, and shrink your opponent's board so they have no good blocks. It also has that application.
Okay, I was only thinking of it like that, which
Oh,
made me think that it was not that good. But yeah,
no, I
so
think
you're doing something, right? Yeah.
the main use case is your opponent attacks with something, you get a surprise block or shrink their thing and eat it. And
Okay.
obviously there are stupid
Yeah.
scenarios where you eat their whole board.
Yeah, you know what? Now that I'm thinking of it that way, I definitely better than I first thought.
I think this is situational. The ceiling of this is stupid, and I think you can scrounge out a card of value with this, even in like the worst cases. You need to keep in mind if your opponent's got 3 power and this up, you need to remember this.
Yeah, yeah.
And because of that,
So it's like a C-ish card, but it has high upside, really high
maybe
upside.
I would not be surprised if this is a C plus. Because sometimes it's hard to get the feeling of a card until you really play with it in the format. I'm gonna go C plus. I'm gonna be a little bit high on it, but I would not be surprised if it is too situational and too expensive. That it's just a C minus card as well, which will be the worst case, right? Then
Yeah.
sometime it's going to be rare that your opponent has it, so you're never going to end up playing around it.
We've got Prepared Tracker. This is a 3-cost 2/2. When Prepared Tracker attacks, she gets +1/+1, and also has Renown, Stun, and enemy units. So attacks is a 3/3.
Very snowbally. I played this, they played a weapon on it, stunning something, attacking. Now they have a giant unit that I couldn't remove, and it's just keeps growing. God forbid your opponent goes 3-drop, attack, combat trick, stunning something else, killing the thing.
Is it a B minus? Maybe. Does it get up that high?
That's
Or
kind of
C
what I've been
plus?
feeling for
Yeah.
it. I would say B minus. If you're on the back foot, if you play this later in the game, it's obviously just it's understated,
Yeah,
but it does still attack back as a 3/3, which is relevant.
still good. Yeah, 3-cost 3/3.
And once again, the renown helps you almost turn the race in your favor, even if you draw this late. So I would not be surprised if it lands on a C plus, but I've been really impressed with it so far. So B minus. Rallying Trumpeter. So we got a 3-cost 2/2, 1 Justice Influence, Nomad 1 with Spellcraft 1. So you pay 1 to give a unit +3/+3 this turn. Just another really efficient 3-drop unit. 2/2 flyer on your turn, 3/3 defender on yours. It's going to help your units get in with the spellcraft. It triggers renown at C plus.
Yeah, I think this is C plus.
You would never cut this from any justice deck, so
For sure.
C plus.
Really like this one.
C plus for the Trumpeter. Okay, Steel-Eyed Pistolier. So 3-cost 3/3, it's an uncommon, 1 Justice Influence. Renown, Steel-Eyed Pistolier deals double damage this turn. Ugh.
So
Blowout potential. They give this +3/+3 when it's unblocked. It's dealing 12 to your opponent. But the double damage is 1 turn, so if they just chump with something, it's not great. And then it's
or
just
even
a
if they
3/3.
blocked with a 3/3, it still just trades.
I would rather have both of the previous 3/3s over this,
Yeah.
which leads me to rank this at a C.
Yeah. I mean, it's still fine. A 3-cost 3/3.
Yeah,
But
which is exactly why I was thinking
kind
like
of. Yeah, I think C is probably good.
C. Alarmed Gatemaster, an uncommon, 4-cost 2 Justice Influence 3/5. When Alarmed Gatemaster attacks, you gain 1 armor. So you have repeatable bolster enabler, And 5 health makes it so 5 health as early as turn 4. I mean, it's going to be pretty hard for your opponent to deal with that. And this is a double block magnet, meaning use a combat trick. Like, this is going to attract the first double block possible. Combat trick, blow out your opponent.
Yeah.
Now, what if you have no bolster, Joe? What do you think of this card? I mean, a 4-cost 3/5.
4-cost 3/5 is okay.
Still pretty good stats.
Yeah. It's probably like...
Would you ever cut that from a deck? Probably not.
No, I think it's like a C level card if you had no bolster.
Okay.
And if you do, I think this would be an important card. I mean, if you have a lot of bolster synergies.
I think this is B-. So I'm actually a step higher each way. I think this is C+ without or with minimal bolster, and a B in the bolster deck for the Gatemaster. Really cool card. Leap of Faith. So we have a fast spell here. 4-cost, 1 Justice Influence. Give one of your units flying and +1/+1 this turn for each of your units.
Okay.
Oh, God. I don't like cards like this. So, on a board stall, this lets you, like, finish off your opponent by getting in for, like, 6 randomly. But it's a really expensive combat trick.
Very expensive.
C-.
A 1 turn. Like, okay, big deal, you did 5 or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think like C-.
Maybe even less.
Yeah, maybe a D.
Yeah, actually, the more I'm thinking, D+. Just 4 costs for this spell. Yeah. And another one that I'm going to lose too often.
Yeah.
Pistol Whip. An uncommon, so another 4-cost spell. 1 Justice Influence. Give one of your units +2/+2 this turn. Stun an enemy unit. So it's not even a combat trick because it's not fast spell speed.
Oh, okay.
But it triggers your renown and it stuns something. This is like I would rather have, if you remember the red card that give one of your units hunt 2 and recruit. I would rather have that to trigger renown than this.
So I think this is where you want to be with your renown cards.
I would rather have like the versatile weapon or that 1-cost fast spell speed that gives 2 things +1/+1. That being said, right, this is another snowball-y effect. Imagine using this on the 2/2 that grows each time it attacks, stun 2 things, and attack with it in your other units.
Yeah.
I'm just not a fan of cards like this, though.
I think it's just too expensive.
D+.
D+ is what I would say.
And depending on how aggressive this format is, who knows? Maybe that could be like C+.
Yeah.
But not a fan. Oh. Smith Spokesperson. 4-cost 3/3. 1 Justice Influence. It's an uncommon. So Renown, create and draw a 4-cost versatile weapon with power and armor equal to the cost of the spell or weapon. Oof. So, Joe, we're about to eat our words here because this is something that pays you off for targeting your unit with a more expensive spell. These are really hard cards to grade because it's going to be so deck and draft dependent. If you end up with your pile and it's a lot of cheap renown enablers, you don't want this. If you end up with a few more weapons that tend to be more expensive, you might really want this. And then this effect is busted. You're basically creating and drawing a removal spell.
That's a hard one to evaluate.
I think this is a build around. You wouldn't put this in your deck unless you have a decent amount of ways to trigger the renown. And with that assumption, build around C+.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Because it is just a 3/3 on its base, with the upside of potentially drawing a weapon. I
Yeah.
feel like this reads better than it's going to play out, but build around C plus is what I'm
Yeah.
going to go for.
All right. This is Stalwart Shield. This is a 4-cost weapon. It is +1/+3 and endurance.
Those are some big stats, and hey,
Big
that
stats.
synergizes pretty well with that renown card we just read.
Yes, it does. It's a little expensive, but
Those are some stats.
that's definitely big stats, and
A
yeah,
2/2 becomes a 3/5.
especially on like a nomad
Yep.
card, this could be really good. I think there might be enough synergy with this that you would be happy to have this, even
Yeah,
though
I
it's a
think how
little.
it's looking is there's plenty of options for cards to trigger your renown. Like, we have Leap of Faith, Pistol Whip, and Stalwart Shield in just on this page in this faction. I think because there's so many different things we can take that fulfill the same role, that makes them all like lower draft picks.
Yeah, for sure.
This one, though, I do like more than Leap of Faith or Pistol Whip.
Yep, same.
So, C minus? I don't think
Yes,
you need to pick it early.
it's definitely the best of the 4-cost ones we've just
Yeah.
seen.
C minus for the shield.
Makes sense.
Okay, what's the next guy?
All right, we have Armored Ermine. It's a 5-cost 4/4 beast. It has renown, gain 5 armor.
How much do I need to weigh my deck to be able to trigger this when I'm also a bolster deck to care about the armor?
Yeah.
It was easier to trigger renown than I first thought during like the keyword review, when that was exactly my argument why, and during the draft that I posted, I undervalued the amount of cards that were cheap and able to target your thing.
Yeah.
That being said, that was mostly in the primal faction. So we haven't seen that many things in Justice that would make us want to just play the spell on our unit to trigger this effect.
Yeah.
And also for bolster, you don't care about gain 5. I would rather just have gain 1 over 2 turns than gain
Right.
5.
Right.
So this falls kind of flat. I think this is going to be like another D plus.
Yeah, D plus, maybe C minus, but I don't think this is the effect you want.
I don't think the synergy is there to make this work. Last Light Refugee. Now, Joe, this was a card this is a reprint from Cold Hunt, which was my favorite draft format. It's a 5-cost 3/5, 2 Justice Influence. It has Endurance and Valor, meaning this is just an absolute unit on the ground. It
Yeah.
can often attack uncontested, and then it blocks really well as well. That being said, a lot of people, from what I was hearing, really don't like this card. Like, this was actually like a low pick in their card evaluations, just because it still just adds to like a clogged board. Like, there
Yeah.
are still boards this doesn't really help you like press the advantage on a stalled board. It also doesn't help you against flyers in a stalled board.
That's true. It is really annoying to try to block this though. 4/6 blocking one thing, 5/7. It's like impossible to double block.
I was taking it like B minus level during Cold Hunt. I'm willing to come down on it to C plus though. I
would
still
say
don't
C+.
think you cut this from any Justice deck, which is why I go to C plus. But I could see how this is worse. It's double influence and in a set with a lot of flying. But yeah, C
Yeah.
plus for Refugee.
I think C plus.
Even though in my heart of hearts I want it to be a B minus.
Yeah. All right, we got Lured Songbird. Say 6 cost 4/4 bird that has flying, and it says Songbird costs 3 less if a relic went to your void this turn. Uh,
Think
this
about
seems
this.
really good.
With honey,
Very prevalent in this
yup,
format.
it doesn't reduce its cost by a lot because you have to pay 2 to sack it, but that does still make it a 5 cost 4/4.
I mean, 5 cost 4/4 flying, I think, is good,
Yes.
and you're getting an effect, whatever the honey is giving you as well. I
What do
really
you
like this.
think about just a French vanilla 6 cost 4/4 flyer?
Bit expensive, but still, it's a big threat late in the game. They
Blocks
can't just ignore
Nomad.
this. Yeah, I would say B minus. Maybe I'm just seeing the upside of it.
You can also do cool things like relic weapons if you use it to attack your opponent's enemy unit and the relic weapon dies and kills that unit. That counts as a relic going to the void, and that would be for free. The more, if I'm trying to be realistic, 50% of the time it's probably just going to be 6 cost 4/4 flyer.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna go B minus. Let's go to the next one. Necessary Slaying. Common, 6 cost, 1 justice influence spell, silence and kill an enemy unit.
In Magic, this would be like an okay removal
Like
spell.
D.
If you had no other removal, you'd play it.
I think 6 at slow spell speed, even for Eternal, is just not good enough. And using some like data for that evaluation, they had a card from, I can't remember the set, one of the last 2 sets, called Bust Out, or I think that's what it was. And at first it cost 6 to kill a unit, give it void bound. That saw like 0 play. That being said, it was in Shadow where there's like other decent removal. I think this is gonna follow a similar suit, but since it's Justice, you kind of just need some removal. So I think the first copy just, you aren't happy about it, but it would always make the deck. So I'm thinking this is a C plus, but the next copies are not C pluses. They're like
Yeah.
D's. I fully think I could be wrong there, especially given how the removal spell previous saw like 0 play at 6. I don't know. I have a feeling you probably don't cut one of these. But I'm willing to be wrong on that.
All right, we got New Order Watchwing. Say 6 cost 4/4 as flying, and it has renown. Play a relic weapon with strength and armor equal to the cost of that spell or weapon.
And we see another 6 cost 4/4 flyer. So how about this? What do you like better, the Songbird or the New Order Watchwing? Both uncommons.
I lean towards the Songbird just because play it cheaper, and this one you have to play and then you have to target it to get the effects. So even though this effect is more powerful, it's a little bit more expensive.
I think this is another one that drastically changes depending on your deck composition. You might not play this in a deck with few ways of triggering. Like you would just want the Songbird.
The Songbird.
In a deck that has like, we're talking 3 to 4 ways of triggering this.
That's a really good payoff.
I
If you
mean,
can trigger it even just once.
oh, so one thing, Renown is one time only.
Oh, yeah, my bad. Sorry.
It's not like like Bolster.
Yeah, I got confused there. A C plus.
C plus, but depending on deck composition, all the way up to like a B.
Yeah.
If you're consistently getting a removal spell out of this. Yeah, like imagine you, Joe, why don't you do this one?
Tower Shield. This is a 6 cost weapon. It's +1/+3. And it says summon, you gain armor equal to the wielder's health.
And the health is after it gets the +3 buff.
Okay.
You play that Tower Shield onto the Watchwing.
Yeah.
That's just GG's. But we saw this same weapon for 4 for +1
Yeah.
+3. Now this does trigger bolster as well. What are your thoughts on a 6-cost weapon?
Seems too expensive.
I think the joke is that it's expensive, so it can trigger off of those
Yeah.
things. But I think for limited, I would rather just have Stalwart Shield. That costs
Yeah.
less, but 4 is still a decent amount.
That's still a good effect at 4.
Yeah.
Right, like,
So
I mean, sure, you'd rather have the bigger thing, but like, even if just using the shield on the Watchwing, that would still be great.
so D for the Tower Shield, I'm thinking.
Yeah, yeah, I think it's just too expensive.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, another relic
Speaking of
weapon.
expensive, yeah.
Speaking of expensive things, but this one is better. So it's 7-cost relic weapon, 1 justice influence +4/+4, but it has versatile. So this can either be a relic weapon, so it could be a 4/4 relic weapon to use as a removal, or +4/+4 onto your unit, but is subject to all the downsides of your opponent using removal.
Which is really bad if you spent 7.
7. I think, in fairness, the use case for this is you use it as removal. And then if you have one of those uncommon things that cares about cost of renown or whatever, then you could use it on that. But what do you think about 7-cost deal 4 damage to a unit?
It's like the other one. What was that other one? It was a 6-cost removal spell.
Silence and kill a
or-
unit. Necessary slaying.
Yeah, which is like, okay, that's an okay removal spell. This is worse, but it does have
A bunch of other finicky
other versatility.
upsides.
Yeah, it's because it's so expensive. I would lean towards giving it a lower grade, like
Yeah.
a C- or something.
I'm gonna put it at a C- as well. 7 is just really expensive. In a vacuum, I would rather just have something that costs 6 silence and just kill it outright.
Yeah.
So that's it for part 1 of the common and uncommon set review. Stay tuned for the second part. I'll catch you then. Peace.